So Get Out. I guess we can kind of get into it. Actually, before we do anything, let's you've got it pulled up. Can we look at the freaking phenomenal cast?
Oh yeah.
In this movie,
Yes.
dude, go for it.
I'm gonna butcher some names, but they're all
Okay.
really good.
We'll bleep out the bad words.
Daniel Kaluuya,
That's my name twin.
that's he plays Chris, our main protagonist. I'm
Protagonist.
gonna skip over the white people.
No.
Allison Williams, who plays Rose.
Very extremely well done.
Oh
by
yeah,
her. I mean, phenomenal actress. She freaking nailed all the creepy things that she was supposed to do.
absolutely. Bradley Whitford as Dean.
Very good.
Catherine Keener as Missy.
Also in horror movies, I think I saw she did other things.
Yeah, being John Malkovich and The 40-Year-Old Virgin, my two favorite horror movies.
Yep.
Caleb Landry Jones as Jeremy. Marcus Henderson as Walter. Betty Gabriel as Georgina. Lakeith Stanford as Andre Logan King.
Oh my gosh. And he's been in a ton of stuff after this.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even before, but I mean, he was on my radar for sure after this. He's been in tons of stuff.
Stephen Root as Jim Hudson, the weird scientist man.
Mm.
Lil Ray Howery as Rod. One of the best characters, Rod.
Yes.
And then a bunch of other people. Oh, I'm being told I'm not talking to the microphone enough. I'm sorry. But tons of people that like
Great. I mean, every
and at the time not really a star-studded cast, but now that this movie's done so well and Jordan Peele keeps on making awesome movies, they're like well-known people.
Yeah. I mean, I would say a lot of them, you start to see them a lot more after this, but they all carried their weight. Like, they all pulled their weight in this movie.
I agree.
So let's get into it, I guess. I guess I'll lead the way on kind of the...
Yeah, you watched it
hours
ago, and I watched it years.
Yeah. Shame on you. Just kidding.
This was one of those, like, I watched it and I was like, man, this is really good. And then I watched a bunch of interviews and behind the scenes, and I still like hear things every once in a while. I have a book on my shelf of it. It's all really fun.
And since you brought that up, I was like, you know what? I don't usually do this. Let me kind of look around and see what some people have said about the movie. And I looked at interviews with Jordan Peele, and I found one with Quentin Tarantino talking about it. And I was like,
you did want to mention this.
I love Quentin Tarantino movies. They're so good. And they literally, his movies and some of the references, like, it's become a part of our culture. That's how good Quentin Tarantino's movies are.
Yeah. If you've ever heard somebody, more particularly a white guy, say his favorite movie is Pulp Fiction, you know he means it.
Yeah, definitely.
You liked that one.
Yeah, they probably have the poster somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so...
if college-aged, liberal arts degree, Pulp Fiction.
My real life...
Your dad? Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that.
My real life actually exists friend Clint. That's his favorite movie.
Yep, that checks out.
So
very real Clint, very real white man.
Yeah. And so but anyways,
that's how you get your pass, by the way. That's where you get your privilege cards. You have to pass the test by saying that Pulp Fiction's your favorite movie.
That's how I got my white card.
I'm just
kidding.
Such a bad joke. Come on, people. It's comedy. You got to laugh at it.
Like and subscribe now.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Maybe slander me on X. Because anyone's going to look at it.
Yeah, we don't have any social medias at the moment.
No.
Hey, but we did hit 100 subscribers, so thank you for that.
Consider the next review our 100 subscriber special.
Yeah, we'll do it that way. So Quentin Tarantino was talking about Get Out, and he said that, you know, it was good because he mentioned that there's not a lot of movies made for black audiences, for black people.
Yeah.
And so not only was it something that they felt like, hey, this is for us, and it is for them, and but he said that it just tapped in some things. So one of the things that Quentin Tarantino said was, excuse me, the movie hit on points. It's like, have you ever been in a situation where you've needed something, but you didn't know what you needed until it came, and you're like, "Whoa, I needed that." Like,
Yeah.
and
This was
so
one of those for sure.
This was that movie for I mean everybody, but for black audiences too, for black people.
Yeah.
Is that like they knew everything that was going on in it. It's like you feel something, but you don't know how to describe it. You can't put it into words, and somebody else does it for you. You're like, yes, exactly that. And that's what this movie was to them. And he mentioned that. He's like, it struck a chord and it found something. So it's like, for instance, just to call back to our own reviews, like when we talked about movies and you were just kind of like, yeah, you know what? I think the way that you approach watching movies is you kind of take it as a like a retreat. You get away from the world, to go into a different world. And I'm like, absolutely. I was like, yeah, that's true. And so that connected with me when I didn't have those words to necessarily describe my approach to watching movies or how I receive movies or experience them. So that's what this was for them. And Quentin Tarantino recognized the greatness of it. And he also mentioned that it was new and fresh in a way that, again, maybe not 100% new, but it was so good and new that you definitely recognize it as something that you hadn't seen before necessarily in that way.
Yeah.
So Quentin Tarantino loved it. I agree with Quentin Tarantino.
And Quentin Tarantino is absolutely a white man you can trust.
Yes, he knows about
movies.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah.
You know what else he loves besides movies?
What's that?
Feet.
He does love feet.
So the plot of this movie is
Speaking of feet. Well, I mean, yes. So to get into the plot, it's very basic. It's boy meets girl, boy likes girl, girl has family, boy meets family, and chaos
they
and
want to
hilarity
use him
ensue.
for his young body.
Yeah, and then they want to steal his body,
Tale as old as
insert
time.
A white person into it.
Yeah, an old white person.
White person into it. So
more specifically.
Yeah, so it's a very simple plot. We start off literally the first scene is they're in their apartment and they're getting ready, and he asks the fair question: they're going to meet their family for the weekend? Does your family know that I'm black?
Mm-hmm. Very fair question.
And so, but even that first question, I think it's kind of it kind of feels bad.
It sets the tone.
Yeah, but it kind of feels bad because it is the current world we live in. Mm-hmm. Is that my appearance and my skin color could be a problem? Has it been addressed? Like, are we sure that this is not a problem? That's the type of question that shouldn't be asked. It
shouldn't need to be.
It shouldn't need to be asked, right? Yeah. But in our present world and in this movie, it does. And he asked, and it's a fair question because, I mean, he doesn't know what he's getting into. He really doesn't know what he's getting into.
Yeah, and he's kind of being like catfished the entire time.
Yeah. So
unfortunately,
because he's a good-looking dude, and nobody should ever catfish him.
I agree. So
I'm sure people have used him to catfish other people. That's how good-looking he is.
Probably.
So that sets the tone, and then every scene it's one of those movies that everything that happens is very important, and you need to pay attention to it. So they start going, they're traveling to her family who lives in the middle of nowhere, which is also a big red flag.
Yeah, if somebody lives really, really deep into the woods, like miles into a country road that ends at their house, you should probably get out.
Yeah, get a map, figure out an escape plan before
you like that one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fill in your spot for this.
Thanks, man. I like it. I like the role reversal. And so they get to, in the car, we get introduced to, what's his name? The friend?
Rod.
We'll call him Hot Rod.
Great guy.
So funny. He's the the comedic.
Yeah, he's the Key and Peele sketch character
Yes,
of the movie.
Yeah, Key and Peele could definitely have played the characters in the movie.
All of them.
Yes, yeah. So,
at the same time.
yes, especially Rose.
Yeah, the whole family.
So he gets a call from Rod. Rod's like, "Hey man, and he's kind of like joking but serious, like, hey man, that's kind of crazy. Like, you really going to this white girl's house like for a whole weekend?" And they joke, and then he's like, "Hey man, she's kind of cute." They joke around. Okay, bye. See you later. And then they hit a deer. A deer runs across the car. They clip it, and then he's like, "Oh shoot!" They stop, and he's like, "I'm gonna go check on this deer," which that actually turns into that is very symbolic of what potentially is going to happen. Deer, prey animals, vulnerable, especially to several 1,000-pound vehicles moving at 60+ miles per hour.
Yeah,
they're very susceptible to to death from that type of impact.
Mm-hmm.
Being a prey animal and being what they are.
You're getting so into it.
So he goes and he looks into this dying animal's eyes, and there's maybe a connection. He feels some empathy there.
I think the importance of the deer, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the way that I'm remembering it, I think the importance of the deer is that the deer is symbolic to what has happened at the house. And towards the end of the movie, Chris almost gets hit by a car, his friend who's coming to save him. Does he get hit by the car?
No.
Okay, I'm remembering it correctly.
He hit somebody with a car.
He does hit somebody with a car. But doesn't he almost get hit by his friend on the way out?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm remembering it slightly different. But he does hit somebody else. So it's like a weird like flip to the metaphor.
Yes. Yes, they did.
She says that. Okay, so I might. This is another one of those movies. This is awful for me when movies film multiple endings because I'll watch them and then I'll internalize all of them.
And
so Sybil's saying that she remembers hearing that they filmed multiple endings.
They did.
And you're saying they did, which means that after I watched the movie, I watched a bunch of behind the scenes, deleted scenes, extras,
and maybe
stuff,
somebody said something about that.
It was probably there. But anyways, so the way that they're trying to fit the metaphor is that he is ending the cycle by
there's more to that,
that.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
Symbolism there. So then I don't know if I think they call a cop or a cop shows up to follow a report or something like that. And Rose is she's a little sneaky little lady.
Yeah.
She's she seems like a great girlfriend.
Sure.
At least a pretty one.
I don't know if I'd agree with that one.
She definitely sets it up. Hey, look, my family is not an issue. She mentions my dad's going to mention that he loved Obama and he would have voted for him for a third time. And in this case, the police takes the report, and she's like, and the police officer says, "Hey, he's like, can I get your ID as well?" And she jumps in and is like, "Why do you need his ID? Is it because he's black? Is that why, basically?" And he's like, "No, it's not like that." He's like, and she's like, "No, you don't." And she talks to Chris. You don't have to show him your ID. And so it's like, wow, dude.
And Chris is sitting there like, I'm just gonna do what he's asking.
You know what?
I'm just gonna follow the law.
And she's very like, wow, I can't believe that guy. So racist. So how dare he? And then they show up at the house, and they pull up, and it's a nice house. It's definitely reminiscent of like a plantation house.
So there's a place up in Bernie called Kendall Point. It used to be called Kendall Plantation. It looks exactly the same as that
house,
and that's where a lot of people get married around here. So I've been there a couple of times.
Probably
and
not
every
a lot
time I'm like, actually, funny story. I went to go shoot a wedding with my friend Julian.
Don't ever shoot a wedding.
Who is black. And so we went to go shoot my best friend's wedding at Kendall Point.
Photos.
And I brought Julian, and Julian walked in, saw like 30 or 40 really old, rich white people, and went, "I watched Get Out, man. I know what you're doing to me." And that's the kind of place that was.
And I'll just make this point since you've said that, as someone who is only half white but doesn't look white, I will say that I can relate in the sense that if I'm in a place that's like majority of white people, I do feel out of place and weird.
Yeah,
I do. I remember being at a get together once, and as soon as the first black guy showed up, I was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody to talk to."
No, it's okay. Once they play Cupid Shuffle, just get out there and dance, and they'll accept you just fine.
Gosh! So, dude, that just reminded me. There was a girl at the
Boot Scoot and Boogie. Both of those.
There was a girl at that get together that tried to claim Black History Month because it was her birthday month in front of my black friend, and I was like, no. I was like, absolutely not. That is not the move. So, anyways,
we got off track
you know
a little
what?
bit.
You know what? When she said that, you know what I said to her? I said, "Get out."
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Nice. Can we put in the comments how many times Jarvis makes that joke specifically?
oh my gosh, not enough.
He did it 3 times before we started shooting. If you want to add that to your counter,
Yeah. So
from the point where he walked in,
it was
when
the
we
first thing
pressed
I said to him
record.
when he opened the door.
yeah,
I said, "Get out."
yeah,
He's like, "This is my house, you person of color, you."
and then we kissed a lot. Sorry, Sybil.
She was in the other room. In the other room.
Who was I?
And man, I'm not moving through this movie very fast.
No, you are not. You gotta.
Yeah,
you
I gotta pick up the pace. So
I gotta
basically-
teach you plot. Beats
I know
and plot
need
points.
I just get. I'm the details guy. I get stuck up on the details.
You
do. So basically, she meets the family. They're a little bit weird because the dad says, "Hey,"
They're very into him being black.
They're very
and it's like
into
uncomfortably into it.
yeah, they bring it up more than anybody ever should. And
Right.
they talk about how grand.
Like to the point where if you're watching this like for the first time out of context of anything, you probably feel like they're trying to hammer in a point a little too much. Because I did hear some people say that, but the point is that they're trying to set the tone about how uncomfortably into him being black they are.
Well, and it brings a point of
It's not like a political thing where they're like, "Oh, white people do this." It's very specifically them.
well, it's
Very specific.
It's a point of like racism can be expressed in a positive way too. You can be
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like it's that
That's
whole
a great
like,
way to phrase it.
I don't see color. I have black
Yeah.
friends, and it's like that sounds like a positive thing, but it's
But
still
you're
isolating.
saying weird things.
Yeah, but you're still isolating a person based off of their color and their race.
yeah.
So
So, hey, don't worry. I'm 1/28th black.
yeah, something like that.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Cool,
Thanks
man.
for telling me, I guess.
Yeah, and so the family's doing the weird thing, and he's just kind of making the best of it. I mean, he's lived his whole life dealing with this kind of stuff. So, but he's this is different. This is his girlfriend. He wants to make a good
Yeah.
impression. They mention so you meet the groundskeeper and who is a black man. He's standing in the yard when they show up, and then they have I want to say maybe like a do you say housekeeper who is also
Yeah.
she's also black.
Well, that's what they say they are,
Right.
but we learn later that that's not the case.
And throughout this whole time, you get the feeling that something's off, but
yeah,
you can't quite.
And you never actually see them doing anything either.
Right. Yeah.
They're just kind of around.
Yeah, but their mannerisms and their behavior and the way
off.
they talk is off. It's weird the way they dress. So you definitely are. He's so good at making us feel what Chris is feeling.
Yes.
It's because at first you're like, okay, this is off, but you're not quite sure what it is.
Yeah. Or it's very like ham-fisted, like, oh, they're weird racists, but it's not. It's just the uncomfortable.
Oh my!
What's happening?
I can't believe we forgot it wasn't the first scene is that they were talking about getting that one good dude was kidnapped.
Yeah,
The
that's
black
right.
Dude.
And then we see him immediately.
He was walking at night in the street. A car is driving past him
Yeah.
turns around and he's like,
you're right.
nope.
This is super important because Chris recognizes him.
Yeah, and he's like, nope, not today. I'm gonna just walk the other way. He's talking to himself.
Yep.
And he's like, nope. And he starts to cross the street. He looks back. Doors open. Nobody. And then all of a sudden, he's kidnapped. Okay. Yep.
So we see the groundskeeper and the housekeeper, and Chris is like, you look familiar. Because that's him.
Well, yeah.
That's the guy from the beginning.
No, the groundskeeper is.
Oh, that's later. That's when they have the big party.
But it's funny because he tries to throw some camaraderie towards the people, and they don't respond in the
does
way.
not land.
Yeah, because we'll find out later. But anyway, so they're going through this. They mention, hey, we're having this party this weekend. You know, we do it every year, and
so
this
crazy.
Weekend
It's happening this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend is the thing. So they're there for that. All the people arrive.
They're all awkwardly into Chris.
They're all very
awkwardly into Chris.
They're all very excited.
Like, wow,
to meet him.
Are you very fast? Can you run very fast?
Oh, you're so strong. You know what I mean? And then there was actually an Asian dude in there too. So Asians count as white. So I would say, hey. I'm not gonna high five for that.
I was gonna say, congratulations, brother, you made it.
That one. You almost got me to high five for whiteness on the internet. Not this time.
Next time, guys. We almost got him.
Yeah, and so, but the Asian guy's like, how does it feel to be? Do you feel like being black in our current, cultural state is a positive or negative? And he's like, hey, you know what? That's where we see the guy who got kidnapped, and he's like, hey, you know what? I'll let my homie over here handle it, and he doesn't respond. He's like, hey, he just gives a kind of a deflective answer and doesn't really answer the question. And people are just talking about him weird. They're all white and some are Asian. And then, and another thing that's noticed is they all arrived in black cars. And one of the first times you're like, you get the feeling like, okay, something absolutely nuts is happening. I think this is before the freak out.
Yeah.
He goes inside to check his phone. He goes upstairs. It's off the charger. Yeah. And everybody who's downstairs is talking. As soon as he goes upstairs out of sight, they all stop talking. And they all listen for him. You're like, what the freak is going on? He comes down. He tries to, he goes to the place
trying to find someone to talk to, yeah.
He goes to the guy who he remembers later on is someone he knows.
Yeah.
And he tries to connect with them, and he's just like, no, he's just not he's not connecting. He takes a photo of him, and
he sends it to Rod.
Right. But also, he freaks out.
Yeah.
Because for a second.
Flash.
Yeah, for a second, that's where we hear the title. He says, get out! And he's really trying to warn him, like, you need to get out of here. This is not safe for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what he meant. What it felt like was he took a picture of the dude and he freaked out, telling him to leave.
And that's what they told him was the story. One part that we missed is the mom. She's a psychotherapist or something like that.
Yeah. And she can hypnotize
people. She references like that she can do that for him because Chris is a smoker, and they're like smoking is so bad for you, and there's ulterior motives in that too. So she does her hypnosis thing on what's the character's name in the movie? I can't remember.
Which one?
The guy that was body snatched.
The guy that was body snatched.
Yeah, what's his character's name? While you look that up, she resets
Walter?
Walter?
No, that's not right.
No.
Talking about Andre?
Right here.
Andre.
She resets him, and then they go back to the party.
Yeah.
And then, like, he's like, you know what? I think I need to leave. I'm not feeling well and stuff like that. And then he goes in to talk to Rose. Mm-hmm. And outside, they're having a literal silent auction.
Yes, they are.
To auction Chris off.
Yeah. His body. I guess, it's him.
So
it's him.
Obviously, that's referencing slavery and like selling people, and that's what they're doing. And again, so you're just like, oh my gosh!
But not for what you think they're selling him off for. They're the old white people want to live in a young, strong body, and so they're getting like Freaky Friday, basically.
Yeah.
But like in like the worst way. No Lindsay Lohans, no
Magical things. It's very
no fortune cookies.
yeah.
It's all bad. It's just all bad.
Yeah. Very bad. And then after that, so he's definitely starting to feel very uncomfortable. He's like, yeah. You know what? I forget what happens. So I believe at one point he goes, man, I might be messing up the scenes, but he goes out for a smoke. And he sees the groundskeeper
just running,
bolting towards him, like extremely like robotic like, but it's very scary. Coming out of the darkness, just coming straight at him, and he freaks out. And he turns away at the last minute. Freaks out. He also sees the housekeeper in the window. She's just looking at her reflection in the mirror, but again, he kind of waves, just like doesn't get anything back. And so he has his smoke. Because he's had a stressful day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things are not adding
like you
up.
do sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and so he goes in and her mom is there and says, smoking is bad for you. She's like, you shouldn't smoke. That's my daughter that you're dating. So she seems very defensive about it. And she says, well, hey, let me help you with that. I can sit down. She basically... forces him into it. And let's do that. And she starts talking about him. We learn some of his backstory about his mom, that he was a kid watching cartoons. His mom was like murdered or something like in the house.
Yeah.
And he didn't move. He didn't get up. He didn't call the cops to save her.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guilt, but it was repressed. That comes out. She does her whole tea thing, and he goes into what's called the sunken place. So it's basically I guess a recess in his mind where he can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like a subconscious space where he can't control his body.
He can't control his body.
He's like a paralyzed.
Yes.
In his own body.
Yeah, his mind is basically trapped, cannot control his body. That's an important thing.
Which is a very deep metaphor that would take me like probably 20 minutes to explain, and me and Jarvis together like an hour longer to explain.
Which we don't have, and I'm trying to get through this. So,
but it's very smart.
We're gonna talk about it. And then I think he gets to a point where, because he talks to the guy before the silent auction, the guy that's blind. Because he wants to see, he wants to do his art again. He does talk to him, and then at some point he goes upstairs and he finds in the closet a box of photos.
Yep.
How about you describe what's going on with these photos?
It's his girlfriend with just a bunch of other black dudes, and some of them are people he's seen very recently.
And at least one of them is a female.
Yep.
So
that looks very suspiciously exactly like the housekeeper.
Yeah. And also,
this is where it kind of like all clicks, and you're like, "Oh, this is fucked up."
I mean, what could you even imagine what goes through your mind? You see your girlfriend with a box of photos with all these other like, okay, you're like, okay, maybe these are exes, but then they're all black.
And you also see like people that you see currently, and you're like, okay, there's a problem here.
Yeah, and he says, you know what? Rose is like, hey, everything okay? He's like, yeah, I think it's time to go. Let's get the keys. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and he's very like exacerbated about it.
Yes, he's like,
yeah,
let's go.
We're leaving.
They go downstairs. She's like, hey, you know what? Instead of looking for the keys up here, let's move on towards the car, and you find the keys. And mom and dad are downstairs, and so is the weird brother, which we haven't mentioned yet. He's weirdly aggressive, but anyways, he's down there with a lacrosse stick. Yep. I don't know what they call them.
Sorry, lacrosse players.
Yeah, sorry.
We're not going to look it up and correct it.
Yeah, we don't care about that sport. So and they keep talking. They're just talking to him, saying weird stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Rose, like, where the keys? You know what I mean?" And then she's like, oh, I don't know. And then she's like, they're here. And then the brother attacks.
Yeah.
And they literally knock him out. He wakes up tied to a chair
In the basement.
in front of a TV, and there's actually a deer mounted on the wall in front of him, literally looking right at him.
Yep.
The TV switches on, and it's a little video of the Armitage family. So,
And what they do.
Grandpa and Grandma Armitage, they explain that, hey, like, I don't know, the coagula. That's all I remember.
Yeah. They go, hey, we're the body snatchers,
Yeah.
and we're snatching your body.
We're doing it now. It's happening as we speak.
Yeah.
And so then the blonde guy comes back on. He's like, hey, we need to talk about this. You can ask me anything. And he's like, yeah. Basically, I'm going to be in your body, and you're going to have no control.
Yeah.
I'm the new you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. So he basically gets put back to sleep. And then he's basically like freaking out, trying to get out. He's scratching the chair, which that's also a metaphor. There's cotton in it. He's pulling cotton out. He finds a way to get enough to block his ears so that he can not be hypnotized again. The brother comes back in when he thinks that he's out because he's pretending because he's got the cotton in his ears. Cotton saved him. So
basically, slavery was a massive help.
This time.
That was a joke.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Cotton was a massive
Sybil
help.
shaking her head terribly behind the cameras.
Cotton was help save him this time. He knocks out the brother. He starts making his way basically just through the house. He actually fights Dad, stabs him through the chest with the deer, the deer horns.
Gone.
So now the prey animal has become the victor.
Yeah.
And has defeated its foe.
The hunter becomes the hunted.
Exactly. And vice versa. And so then he goes, and then he has to deal with Mom. She stabs him with a letter opener. He stabs her in the face with the letter opener that's still protruding through his hand. Then the brother comes back. He's about to leave. Brother comes back, knocks him, puts him in a headlock. He defeats him, and he's like, I'm out of here. He steals the car. He's driving away. He hits none other than we know now is Grandma. Mm-hmm. Grandma Armitage hits her, and he's like, he feels because he sees someone like him who's hurting.
Yeah.
Now that he knows what's going on, he knows that there's a real person trapped inside.
Yeah.
Like the person who owned that body is trapped inside the body now. They're a prisoner of the body. And he's like, and then he has flashbacks to his mom, like he didn't help her. He's like, so he gets out, puts her in the car, and
that was a mistake.
Mistake. One of many.
Yeah.
Number 550.
Don't be kind. That's what we've learned.
Yeah. Trust your funny friend who apparently knows more about.
Yeah. Who, when you stopped answering your phone, decided to get in his car and drive.
Yeah, because he's a good friend.
And he's friend of the year.
There's an issue going on. Yeah, he's doing that stuff behind
Actual
the scenes.
Friend of the year.
He's actually calling the cops. He's like, hey, man, something's not right here. And all that's happening. That was happening before. He actually has a weird conversation with Rose because he calls his cell. Rose picks up his cell.
Yeah.
Oh, he left. She has the creepiest, dead face. She's not emoting at all, but she's talking like, oh no, like I don't know where he is. What's going on? And so he's like, yeah, dude, this is an issue. This is a problem. Mm-hmm. So he, anyways, he hits Grandma, puts her in the car. She wakes up, freaks out, crashes the car. And then we see Rose come out of the house with a rifle, shooting at him. And then Grandpa Armitage comes and tackles him. And then as he's wrestling Chris takes his phone out, snaps a photo with a flash.
Yeah.
The real guy comes out, takes the gun from Rose, shoots her in the stomach, and then shoots himself. And then Chris is about to choke Rose out. And in a dreaded moment for me, When I was watching, I was like, "Oh no!" Because I know that the
something's
cops
gonna
are
happen.
horrible.
Yeah,
when
they
the
were
cops
about to
show
pull
up,
up.
this is bad, especially
Yeah.
with the scene that was pulled up on. And luckily, it was our boy Hot Rod to save,
Which was great,
and gets him the hell out of there.
But I also remember that scene and being like, "Oh fuck, it's the cops."
Yeah, we know.
There's no way it's not. And even Chris in that moment's like,
I know, because you're like, dude, he's been through so much.
Come
He's about to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then the cops show up, and you're like, no, he's literally about to die right now. And that's what I thought was
by somebody.
Yeah,
Like literally any of them.
yeah. So I mean, that's the movie. It's a wild ride, man. It's a wild ride.
Hey, you.
How'd you like that episode? Did you like it?
You like movies? You like this one?
Do ya?
You should subscribe to this
Yeah,
channel right
like
now.
Also, as well.
Yeah. You got friends? Yeah, you do.
Do you? Hopefully.
Show it to them.
Prove
Show
it.
this to them.
Prove it. Prove it to us. You got friends.
There's other videos to watch too. Why don't you watch those if you're so cool?
Yeah. Prove you're not a bot. Leave a comment.
Nerd.